Coming up on Fifth Gear Web TV, Graham from the office learns the art of drifting.
It's frustrating not being able to get it right.
And I test America's latest muscle car, the new Chevrolet Camaro. Welcome once again to Fifth Gear Web TV. And first up, the news. General Motors in America has developed a brand new anti-theft system called Remote Ignition Blocker. When a car is stolen, the owner reports it to GM's safety company OnStar, which then sends a signal to the car to immobilise the ignition, making it easier to recover. If it's involved in a car chase, the police can also request OnStar's slow down system, where the pursued vehicle is remotely brought to a gradual halt. The technology will become available on most GM cars in the States, but as yet there are no plans to sell it in Europe. If you're a fan of hot hatches, you will love this 800 brake horsepower Ford Fiesta Rallycross car. Back in July, it was piloted by World Rally champ Marcus Gronholm on the world-renowned Pikes Peak hill climb in Colorado. He finished the grueling 12-mile climb to the summit with a turbo problem and hence a 5th place overall, but second in class. The event was won by a Japanese rally driver. And finally, Rolls-Royce has released all the geeky stats for its latest model, the Ghost. The baby Rolls will have a brand new 6.6-litre V12 turbocharged engine with 563 bhp, 575 pound-foot of torque and a 0 to 60 time of 4.7 seconds. It'll also have 4-corner air suspension, which Rolls-Royce assures us will deliver optimum levels of comfort and refinement. The first Ghost will be delivered later on this year at a price of £165,000. Here on the Web Show, we do our best to bring you a diverse range of motors from around the world. This week, we've gone all stateside as I wrestle with some fresh muscle from Detroit. This is America's latest sweetheart. Made by Chevrolet, it combines stunning retro looks with a name revered among petrolheads. And if you live in the good old US of A, it can be yours for as little as $23,000. It's the latest modern muscle car to carry a classic badge. Ford has the Mustang, Dodge has the Challenger, and now Chevrolet has this, the Camaro. Underneath the hood is a 3.6-litre V6 engine, which is the entry-level model. And in terms of American muscle cars, this is commonly known as the laughing stock model. The mantra going, it ain't a real muscle car unless it's got a V8. However, this little V6 does manage to produce just over 300 brake horsepower, which is only 10 brake shy of the V8 that's in the Ford Mustang. Okay, this car doesn't have as much torque as a V8, 273 pound-foot of the stuff, but it does help it get to 62 miles an hour in 6.1 seconds, which are all pretty respectable figures to rival some European sports cars. So this thing can hold its own in a straight line, but can it corner as competently? So 60 miles an hour braking, turn into this long left-hander. 70 miles an hour, down there, turning, hairpin. Front tyres are hanging on. Big, fat, juicy 20-inch tyres, getting a little bit of understeer through the early part of the corners. See the tyres just screeching a little bit. This thing weighs more than a Ford Mondeo, and it is as wide as a Bentley Continental. But the feel is much sportier than normal sort of Yank tanks. But you know, at the end of the day, it actually does not matter how this car handles, because when you're sat behind the wheel, you can't help but grin, and you get just as much attention as you would in a Ferrari. The Camaro won't officially go on sale in the UK. It's an all-American car, and America is where it's going to stay. But if you really want one, there are people who can help. This is Anthony Cohen of American Car Imports. He specialises in bringing cars like the Camaro to the UK. So Anthony, apart from shipping the cars over to the UK, what do you have to do to make it ready for someone like me to buy?
Well, there's actually an awful lot of work to do because, of course, this car is built to federal motor vehicle safety standards, not European type approval standards. So we have to prepare the car for a very strict IVA test. And basically, we have to completely rewire all the lights on the car, and it takes us about a week to do the work.
Now, with all that work in mind, how much can you sell it for?
The starting price at the moment is in the sort of middle to upper 20s on the road in the UK, and that's with a 3-year unlimited mileage belt and braces warranty that covers you right across Europe.
The reality is that you can buy one of these registered in the UK for the same money as a Porsche Boxster, BMW Z4 or Nissan 370Z. But is it really an alternative to a more conventional sports coupe? Well, it is as American as fireworks on the 4th of July, and as such it is an acquired taste. Yes, it's big, it's left-hand drive, and you will buy this car with your heart. But with prices starting from £25,000, it's a tempting package for your head as well. One of the most entertaining forms of motorsport is drifting, the art of purposefully sliding a car sideways. It is fantastic fun, but how do you get involved? Well, apart from giving it a go in your local supermarket car park at night, Graham has found a much safer way to get his slide on.
Santa Pod Raceway in Northamptonshire is one of the most famous drag racing venues in Europe. A celebration of burning rubber and fuel, it's one of the best places to come if you want a hands-on feel of the sport.
For years, they've been doing Run What You Brung days, where you turn up in any old car and race other punters down the quarter-mile strip to see who's fastest. It's like a petrol-powered version of medieval jousting.
Now they've gone one step further with this. It's called Drift What You Brung. Exactly the same idea, except a little bit more sideways. Your car needs to be rear-wheel drive, and don't be surprised if you come away with bald tyres.
There are 3 different types of track to play on. There's a figure of 8, a kidney shape, and a playpen like this, where novice drivers have to prove themselves before they're allowed out on the big stuff. They do have instructors to help out complete beginners like me, but I'm not going to need one, because I've invited a mate down to help me out.
His name is Ben Broke-Smith, and he's the European drifting champion. And this is his car. A 1993 Nissan Skyline producing nearly 550 brake horsepower and 555 pounds-foot of torque. The perfect drifting machine. If I can't do it in this, I probably never will.
Ben!
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for coming down.
No worries.
You're the European drifting champion.
Yep, was champion last year.
Makes you the best person here, yeah?
It sounds a bit arrogant really, doesn't it, to say that?
But, go on.
Yeah.
Yes. So what do you need to teach me so that I'm not rubbish?
Well, you're going to find it pretty easy, I think, because you've got a full championship winner spec car.
I mean, I'm thinking that even the merest slight feathering of the throttle is just going to get it going immediately.
Yeah, but it's got a lot of grip as well, and it's all set up, so you've got a lot of steering lock and a lot of feel to it, so...
Okay, so you think it's quite controllable?
Yeah, it's quite controllable.
Even a numpty like me can do it, yeah? Let's give it a go.
But before I could even get close to the steering wheel of the Skyline, Ben wanted to show me what it was capable of. Then came my turn to drive.
When I first move off the line and try and do my first ever kind of mock drift, what do I want to be doing?
I think we'll just get you to drive around it, like, relatively quickly. If you jump in and, like, bang the clutch out or yank the handbrake, you'll be on loads of steering lock. Kind of, you know, when I was down there and I said, on here, if you put your foot down and it just went.
Yeah, that will happen.
You know, that'll happen. You're setting up quite nicely. You don't want to lose track of where your steering is. You're panicking a little bit there.
Yeah.
When it feels like you're going to drive out of the cone, you know that point where you're like backing off?
Yeah.
You actually want to accelerate. You won't really have to do anything with the steering. You can
steer
just
on the throttle.
You can just steer on the throttle, exactly.
Ben told me that the key was to steer with the throttle. I needed to apply enough power to spin the rear wheels so that the back of the car would lose traction and begin to slide. but with 550 brake horsepower available, it was proving tricky not to apply too much and then just lose control.
It's frustrating not being able to get it right. It's purely a reflex thing. Accelerate. Very neatly done.
With the beginners section conquered, it was time to don our helmets again and have a crack at the big course.
Okay, here we go then. Let's try it.
As well as finding the perfect throttle balance, I also needed to keep track of exactly where the front wheels were pointing so that I didn't apply too much steering and disrupt the car's balance. Out on the big track, it was becoming all too easy to just flap my arms around and hope for the best.
The car is much cleverer than I am.
Just as it began to look like the proper course was far too much for me, Ben decided to show me what the metal rod was for.
You can try just giving the handbrake a quick pull like as you're going along. You know, put the clutch down and handbrake it.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of cool though, because this will mean that you can go away knowing that drifting and a drift car isn't all about having a car that just slides around.
No. It's like learning to swim in the Atlantic with sharks. Okay, I know I cheated a little bit today by getting one of the best drift cars in the world and the best drifting man in Europe, but I can safely say from my experience that drifting is a good form of motorsport. I'd recommend doing it in a cheap, rubbish car until you're really good, because doing it in something monster fast like this, you'll just feel rubbish. But Ben, thank you for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Apologies for nearly making you sick.
That's cool.
As a leaving present, I've got you a drifter.
How original.
I was going to have mine too, but I'm not really a drifter yet, so you can have
Oh,
that
you
as
can.
well.
How about you pretend?
Okay, yeah, fine.
you go.
Should we have it now?
Why not?
And that's it for this edition of Web TV. Make sure you look out for more of the same, but a bit different, in a fortnight's time.